Hey guys, it's Duc. In this episode of the Code Hangout show, I answer a question that people ask. I want to be, no, we are not doing anything with this, but it has something to do with this episode. That people ask me how I can build apps like for Android apps, for apps that you run on your Android phones, or some apps like the Amazon.com or Facebook.com, they use some infrastructure the same. How can I build apps like that? Well, the answer is you need to learn how to program, how to code. There's the big answer. That is like very general answer. But more specifically, you need to learn how to code in Java. Java is one of the world's most popular and most widely used programming language. Later on, we will tell you about, in this video, I will tell you about what is programming, what is a programming language, and how we can start, what are the tools that you need to start program, and we'll install those tools and we'll start learn how to program in Java, right? Now I know that as I just for words, as I tell you all of these things, it will be overwhelming. There will be a lot of challenges, there will be a lot of terms and acronyms and new definitions and terms, but pay attention with me. I will just explain things one by one, and sometimes I will just go over them and then maybe we will skip them because it's not the right time for us to discuss about that, alright? So deal? So let's talk about what is programming and then we'll install the tools. What is programming? Now, there's a lot of definitions about programming. There's a big giant book about that, or there's a series of that. But my definition of programming is that you show the computer some instructions to do something and to accomplish some task. Let's say I am a robot and I want to make some milkshake over here. So you are the programmer, you are writing a program so that I can execute on that program to make a milkshake. What are you going to do? So we have a machine here, we have some milk, coconut milk, and some ingredients. Why we are going to do that? So the first thing is we'll pour in some milk, right? We'll pour in some milk like that, looks good, put it aside. Next, we'll put each of the ingredients into the cup. So I will put some spinach here. I know it's weird, okay? And then I will put in some blueberries like that. And then we'll have some raspberries, put in like that. Usually I have some protein powder, and then what you do? Do you just like put this cup onto this and then try to make it happen? No, you have to tell the computer, the robot, to to close the lid. So let's close the lids closely, like really tight. And then reverse it, put in here, let's say it is powered up, and then it will make your milkshake. So that is program in itself, a recipe, a sequence of instructions, a sequence of demands or commands to do something. That's how you program, that's how you write apps, that's how you write programs. But in another scale, it's just like a bunch of lines of code. If you write this recipe here into paper, you have each line of things, that's programming. So, number 2 question is, what are the tools that you will need to start programming in Java? And then you will be on the sure path to write Android apps. Well, the tool number 1 is, of course, no-brainer. We will need a computer. Here I use a Mac computer. You can use any kind of computer that you want. You can use a Linux computer. You can use a Windows computer or Mac computer. In this series, in this episode, and in the few next series, we are going to use a Mac computer just because I love Mac. I'm an Apple fan, but not like that we discuss Android or something. We will talk about Android. Now, the second tool that you will need is something we call Java SDK. It stands for Software Development Kit. It means that the creator of Java the Oracle, a bunch of engineers that will create Java and they maintain those. They create a bunch of code already written for us so that we can use those code and apply those in our program. Not like we reinvent the program. So I forgot to tell you that what is a programming language. Well, before you show me how to do this, right? Make a recipe. You have to tell me, you have to communicate with me. It's the same like you are talking to a computer like this. You have to talk to it. And we have to use a language also. In this case, we use a language called Java, the programming language, right? Java is very famous, and of course you are here. If you want to build Android apps, then you are on the sure path to build Android apps. But the problem is, when you go into building Android apps, there will be a lot of terms, there will be a lot of programming skills that you need to adopt first. So in this series, we will build those skills for you. Now, the third tool that you need is a text editor. Here I use the text editor called Atom. It is developed by GitHub, I believe, and it can be used. The reason for I use that because it can be used on Linux, on Windows, or on Mac, so we have the same experience any machine that we use. So those three things: number one, a computer; number two, Java SDK; number three is a text editor. Don't use Microsoft Word. Don't use Pages for Mac. Don't use Numbers. You have to use a text editor. Just type in some text, compile those. We'll talk about that. So let's go over my computer over here, and then I will show you how to install those two, and we'll build our very first Java program. Let's do it. Alright guys, so I assume that you have your computer in place. So now I will go to google.com in here. Let's search for something we called Java SDK. And again, it stands for Java Software Development Kit. It is a bunch of code that Oracle, which is the company that created Java, they already write those code for us, and all we need to do is to use those code in our program. So the first, very usually, the first results that you have is this Java SC. It stands for Standard Edition Development Kit. So SDK 8. The current, at this screencast, I am using the SDK 8. If you are using a later version, don't worry, just continue this video, because what we are learning in this series, it's very fundamental. It has been a long time in the language. It's like verb and nouns in English. It will not change. So here's the website. It has a lot of text. Don't worry about those things. What we want to consider is this box over here. The version is SE Development Kit 8U91. Again, if you're using a newer version, it's fine. Now let's click into this accept terms and condition and find out about the system that you're using. So if you use a Mac, download this thing. If you're using a Windows 86 or 64, download the installer and just install that as any kind of app that you are installing. Alright? So meanwhile, when you are downloading that thing, let's open Google again and we'll type in atom.io. This is the text editor that I really love. It's very beautiful, it's simple, it's lightweight, and I believe that it works for Windows. It works for, here you can select other platforms here. It works for Windows, it works for Linux, it works for iOS, so you can use any kind of things. And it can, if you're a web developer, it will recognize the code pattern really well. If you're a Java developer, it also recognizes the code. So let's download this thing. If you I already download that, so let's click download and install those, and then come back with me, okay? So now I assume that you download the thing. Here's in the link below, you'll find out a link to download your starter project. Again, when you open the starter project, don't click right into it because maybe it will open up Microsoft Word or it will open up text editor. So what we want to do is right click into this thing and then we choose to open with. So because I have Xcode in place, it's also a text editor, but that's for iOS development and it has a lot more things. So I want to use Atom and the version is 17.4 over there. Alright. So now is our code. It's time for us to write some programming. So let's do some programming. Now, all of those code right now, don't worry about those things. Don't consider any of those things yet. Because again, if you remember in the introduction, I tell you that there will be a lot of new terms, there will be a lot of new definitions, and there will be a lot of times when I tell you that I want to skip ahead. I don't want to discuss about those things because if I do, it would just overwhelm you. So let's just skip those things. Let's imagine that these lines of code don't exist yet. Just think that it is like a template for you to write your apps inside here. All right? So here I want to explain this line. It says console equals system.console. What this is, it is creating an object. This object, all right, now don't worry about what an object is, what is creating an object means, don't worry about those things. What I want you to know that this console, it links to something we call a terminal, all right? So when you open up the terminal in your Mac here, just search for terminal. If you're using a PC, there will be description below this video for you to open up the terminal. So this terminal will be our input and output devices. All right. Now, if you think about it, if you are building an Android app, then the input of your app is the user interaction, maybe the voice, the sound, the tap, the touches. If you're building a maybe virtual reality app, then you have input and output too, right? It's the same for this app. It's the same for any kind of program. It has input, it has output, and it has the process within it. So from the input that we text in, we process it, and we output to the console over here. So this console object, again, don't worry about the object thingy. It will link this thing, allows us to put some text onto this. All right? Now, by tradition of any computer scientist, the first program that we ever write, maybe not your first, but the first program in the new language that we're going to write is the Hello World program. So let's write that program real fast. We'll do console.printf. Okay, we'll type in console like that. And then we'll dot. It means that we want to operate some function. We want to operate something onto this object. And then we do printf. It stands for print in format, right? And then I will open and close the parentheses. And notice this is really important. And this will be a lot of errors when you compile your code or run your code, that you will have this error too. So the last thing is a semicolon. Okay, this is required. And then in this parenthesis, you have to put in a quotation mark. Inside the quotation mark, you can put any string, any text that you like. So let's say I want to do hello world. My name is Duc Tran. Okay? And then if you notice on the top, on the bar over here, you have a dot line like that. Right? It means that your file has been changed and you haven't saved it yet. So let's save it using the Command S key or Control S, I believe, in the Windows. So now let me show you how you can run this app. Believe it or not, that's a complete app. That's a complete program. So in order to run this, you have to go back into the folder, the starter project folder that you run this, because we have to change the directory of the terminal into the directory here. Directory simply means a folder, right? So in order to change a directory, we have to type in cd. It stands for change directory, and you can drag in a folder like that. Just long press that, drag it over here, and it will show a long path like that. Press enter, and then now we are inside our directory 1 introduction. All right. So in order to run a Java program, the first thing you have to do is to compile the program. So remember that when you download the SDK, it includes a lot of things. One of those things is the compiler. It means that it translates from the code here, Java, into the computer understanding code. into some language that the computer understands, which is 1 and 0. Alright, so we want to do, okay, I want to clear the screen using the clear command like that. And now let's do Java C. Okay, it means that Java compiler, and then we do introduction.java because we want to compile this file, introduction.java, and then press enter. Alright, notice that it runs, nothing happened, but we have another file called introduction.class. And now let's run the program using Java introduction, and then press enter. And there we go, we have hello world, my name is Duc Tran. But you notice that this line over here, it connects immediately into our terminal name over there. So in order to have a new line, it means that the effect when you press an enter key like that, okay, then you have to use a backslash and then end. What it is an escape key. It means that it would not translate, it would translate this thing, this special character, okay, backslash n into a new line character. Now, I want to tell you another thing in programming. That is the importance of comments. So in order to write comments, you do 2 backslash like that, a space. This will allow you to make sure that this line over here is a comment. So we can do, we are saying hello to the world, like that. So this is a comment line. What it does is, it doesn't do anything. It just helps us to understand what this chunk of code do. Or maybe you want, this is particularly important if this code is the thing that you are going to reuse in the future, or you are programming in a team of developers, you have to explain to your co-workers what you are doing here. Or maybe down the road, 6 months from now, 1 year from now, you want to open this introduction.java, learn how to use the console.printf, then you have to tell yourself what this line does, right? So we are saying hello world to the console. Now what this does is, if we run the program again, and hey, if you want to run the program again, we have to Java C recompile it, and then introduction. And now I know that inside this directory, there will be only one introduction, right? So I can use the tab key like that. So it will auto-complete the introduction. And because it has .java and .class, so it's confused, it allows us to choose. So let's do .java. And then Java introduction like that. No dot. And still do the same. It has the new line, but it doesn't print out this comment line, isn't it? Yeah, the computer will ignore the comment. What it is a tool for us to document our code, to explain for ourselves or our teammates what we are doing here. That's it for our demo in this episode of the Code Hangout Show. So now I want to give you a code challenge. The code challenge this time is to use the console.printf command, the code that you just learned how to write above there, and print out to the console these 2 lines. And remember, it has to have an enter key or new line key. And I want you to do, hey, my name is, put in your name, I am a, put in your career or your occupation, and then you can find me at your URL. So you can find me at ductran.io. So that's our demo. Alright guys, so that is video number 1 of this series, of this episode of Code Hangout. I hope that you enjoy this series. We talk about what is programming language, what are the tools that you need to start programming in Java, how you can install those tools, and we just write our very first traditional program called Hello World. Of course, it is hello, my name is something, right? So I hope that you enjoyed this series, and I hope I see you in next time. Do me a favor, subscribe to this channel over here so that I can continue to deliver to you new training, new video tutorials, new tips in programming and build apps, and iOS app, Android app, web apps, any kind that you like, and you can enter you can ask me questions so I can support you. Number 2, I hope that you go to ductran.io/Java. What I want to do is I want to give you my new Java development course. That is the course that I built into together a bunch of video tutorials, a bunch of code challenges just like the one that you just have, so that you can be sure path on building Android apps. You have whatever you need to know, all the things that you need to know about building a program in Java. That's why we call it Code with Java, not Code in Java, Coding with Java. So I hope that you will go there, ductran.io/Java, submit your name and email there so I can send you the whole course. And until then, I see you in ductran.io/Java in the next episode of the Code Hangout Show. Until then, go out there every single day of your life, learn new things, craft your ideas, and contribute to the world.